This is the story, the fantastically true story, of Herbert A. Philbrick, who for 9 frightening years did lead 3 lives. Average citizen, high-level member of the Communist Party, and counter-spy for the Federal Bureau of Investigation. For obvious reasons, the names, dates, and places have been changed, but the story is based on fact. This week's story deals with a communist racket, a plan to trick American citizens into paying money unknowingly into the Communist Party, and at the same time, endangering the lives of friends and relatives. "5:30 p.m. Be at the intersection of 7th and Lincoln, southeast corner. Wait until an old sedan approaches and flashes its lights. Then throw away the newspaper you're carrying and get inside. Destination, a high-level meeting of certain key communists. So high-level they don't even give you the address, but you know why it's been called. Spy Queen admits communist espionage. Complete investigation of Soviet America Commerce Institute underway." The FBI warned you this was going to break. Commies are worried. Comrade Martha Phillips, their leading lady in the Soviet America Institute. Now she's spilling the beans about how the comrades used the Institute for collecting American money and secrets. A lot of names are being named, and a lot of underground communist activity is being brought out into the light of day. No wonder this meeting has been called in such a hurry.
All right, comrades, sit down. You all have a pretty good idea why we're here.
I simply couldn't believe it. I've never been so shocked in my life. To think that Comrade Martha...
Martha Phillips is no longer a comrade. She's been expelled from the party.
Well, of course, but I just meant that...
The first question is, how much damage can she do? Comrade Herb, if your value to the party lies in the fact that you're a secret member, is there any chance that this woman might identify you as a communist?
I'm trying to think back. I didn't recognize her picture in the paper.
If you ask me, it flattered her.
Go on, comrade.
Of course, there's a chance that our paths may have crossed at some time, but I don't believe so.
That's something. All right, Comrade Barbara, you apparently knew the woman.
Yes, comrade.
If she named you, you will deny the charge and ask for an immediate hearing.
Yes, comrade.
Comrade West, you were her district leader. You will prepare a list of every party member that she might identify. The list will be delivered to Comrade Jenny at party headquarters no later than 9:30 tomorrow morning. You were in charge of the Commerce Institute, Comrade Jeff. You should have anticipated this treachery.
Yes, Comrade. I was derelict, I suppose, but I never dreamt.
The records have all been destroyed?
Every record, as soon as I heard the news.
And it will be her word against yours.
Against mine?
As chairman of the organization, you will be called to testify.
Oh, but think of the scandal, my reputation.
Your reputation is the reason you were made chairman of the Institute. The contrast between a man of your wealth and background and a woman like Martha Phillips ought to be sufficient to discredit her. If it isn't, there will be other witnesses to assist you.
I see. Well, if there's no way I can avoid testifying...
The damage is done. Time to stop a traitor before he can become a traitor. This is the problem we will always have to face. But if we are vigilant, discover these dissenters in advance, we can eliminate them.
Eliminate?
If a person is so confused, so distorted, that he is considering betraying the party, he might find it impossible to live with himself. He might even consider suicide. There's no reason we should restrain such a person, is there? It might be necessary for the party to assist him. This deviation of the Phillips woman must not be permitted to destroy the apparatus we have created. The Soviet American Institute was just one arm of that apparatus, but a very important one, which we must preserve.
You don't mean you're going to continue with the Institute?
Of course not. I mean we are going to continue the services of the Institute. As soon as a new method is determined, you'll all be contacted. Well, Comrade Barbara.
Yes, comrade.
You'll drive Comrade Jeff to the rendezvous point where you met. Be absolutely certain no one sees you leave this building.
Comrade Bill.
Yes?
Nothing.
Nothing. What's the matter with you, Philbrick? Your advertising business is having a tough time competing with your curiosity about what the comrades are up to now that the heat's on. You haven't heard from... Philbrick?
This is Mr. White.
Oh, yes, Mr. White. How are you?
Fine, thanks. I'm calling about that new advertising campaign we were discussing the other evening. Remember I said I'd let you know when it was time to get it underway?
Yes, I remember.
I was wondering if we could get together about 5 o'clock this afternoon.
Why, yeah, sure, I guess so.
Oh, there's just one more thing. I'd like to be sure that the man who was in charge of the last ad campaign is present. So if you could stop by his house and bring him along to our meeting, I'd appreciate it.
He wasn't very enthusiastic about the last campaign. Maybe he's lost interest in this one.
Well, if he feels that way, I'm sure you can change his mind.
Okay, Mr. White. I'll do what I can. See you later. They don't waste much time, do they, Philbrick? It's less than a week since Comrade Martha opened up on the Soviet America Institute of Commerce. And they've already got a substitute warming up to go into the game. But it sounds like Comrade Jeff wants to stay on the bench. Well, all you've got to do now is give him a little pep talk. You really can't blame Comrade Jeff for playing hard to get. The former chairman of the Commerce Institute has enough to worry about. They haven't subpoenaed him yet, but it won't be much longer. Wait a minute, Philbrick. He's already in trouble. Why should the party want to use him again on this new scheme? You know the answer to that, don't you? Get him in deeper. So deep that no matter what happens, he'll never be able to crawl out. Wow. Pretty fancy address for a communist, isn't it? Why would a man who lived here join the party? Foolish question. Why would a man who lived anywhere in America join the party?
Show Mr. Philbrick in, Mary. Won't you sit down?
No, thanks. There's a meeting this afternoon at 5 o'clock.
Oh?
Apparently they've had some trouble contacting you.
That doesn't matter. I'm not able to leave the house.
Oh? Well, I'm afraid you'll have to. They sent me here to escort you to the meeting.
But, Comrade, if...
You'd better get dressed. We've only got a few minutes.
But why? Why is it so important? Why do they want me there?
The organization to replace the Commerce Institute is being set up. That's the purpose of the meeting.
They can't want me in the new organization. That would be foolish. I'm going to be called to testify about the Institute. Comrade Bill said I'd be called.
But your testimony won't involve the party or your future usefulness. Will it?
No, I didn't mean that.
Better get dressed, comrade.
I'll only be a moment.
That's the idea, Comrade Platt. I'm worried about your health, too. But I want you at that meeting this afternoon. I want you to know all about the organization that's being formed to replace the Soviet America Institute, just in case you have to appeal to the FBI for help. Well, here we go again. The Soviet America Institute of Commerce was a valuable party asset. A setup like that has to be replaced no matter what happens. But this time, several different organizations will be licensed to trade with Russia and the satellites. Even if one of them should be closed down, the others stay open.
You know, we've taken a lease of this store, and it's going to be the headquarters for one of our new trading companies. We'll call it Parcels for Poland. The general idea is that we sell food parcels and guarantee delivery for residents in Poland. Such a company will serve two purposes. Sale of parcels will bring money into the party treasury, and at the same time, we'll be able to obtain a list of those individuals in Poland who still have contacts here in the United States. Comrade Jeff, do you remember we discussed the possibility of such a package service when the Institute was first formed?
Yes, comrade.
Well, you will be in charge of the entire financial arrangements. Accounting and bookkeeping will follow the same procedures used in the Institute. Under the present circumstances, your name will not appear as one of the officers of the company, but your duties are the same.
I don't know, comrade. Perhaps somebody else could.
You're the only person with the necessary experience and knowledge of our procedures.
It's just that I may be called to testify for the Institute.
You haven't been called yet, and when you are, the amount of evidence you will give shouldn't take up much of your time.
Yes, comrade.
You've all met Comrade George. He's our propaganda expert. You'll team up with him, Comrade Herb, and prepare some handbills that we can mail out.
All right.
If you need any artwork, Comrade Barber will supply it. The handbills must be ready for the printer tomorrow morning. Is that clear?
Okay.
Now, since Comrade George has already done some preliminary planning, I'm leaving him in charge. Oh, perhaps you'd better come with me, Comrade Jeff. You won't be needed here anymore tonight, and you shouldn't overtax your strength.
Yes, comrade.
Besides, we can have a nice little chat on the way home. Good night, comrades.
Good night.
Good night.
I've drawn up a list of what the parcels will contain and the prices.
Wow. They're pretty high, aren't they?
Well, we have to show some profit, comrade. Before we get down to details, perhaps I should describe the new propaganda techniques our party has developed. Are you both familiar with Pavlov's conditioned reflex?
Well, I think so.
It's quite simple. He used dogs for his experiment. Every time he was ready to give a dog meat, he rang a bell. Finally, all he had to do was to ring the bell and the dog's mouth would water whether there was meat there or not. A pattern had been established in the dog's brain. His reflexes were automatic, conditioned.
I'm afraid I don't quite understand what this has to do with Parcels for Poland.
The exact same technique can be applied to human beings by the use of words. The right word will give you the right reflex action. Now take our problem at hand. We want to elicit a response from people who have friends or relatives in Poland. The response we're after is the purchase of our gift packages. So the question is, what are Poles conditioned to respond to? What impulses cause them to act?
Well, they've always had a strong desire for freedom and independence.
Well, they have their freedom and liberty, comrade.
Oh, of course, comrade.
What other factors motivate them? I'll tell you one. We might as well face it. The Poles are religious. Of course, in Poland, this factor is gradually being eliminated. But we're appealing to Polish Americans, who are still devoutly religious. What word combines religious feeling with a desire to give? The answer is obvious. Christmas. So we're not going to advertise parcels to Poland. We're going to advertise Christmas parcels to Poland. So we'll have Christmas parcel number 1, Christmas parcel number 2, and so on.
I think it's a wonderful idea, Comrade George.
Comrade Herb?
I think it'll be very effective.
What are we waiting for?
You know it would be effective, Philbrick. You're an advertising man. You ought to know. It's quite a scheme. Sounds foolproof. Wonder what the FBI will have to say about it. Hi, Eddie. Change the oil and give it a grease job, will you? I'll take the bus downtown and pick it up after work.
Say, you're going downtown if you'd like a lift.
Anywhere near the city hall?
Why, yes, right near there.
Swell. A lift downtown just when you need it. Pretty lucky, aren't you, Philbrick? That's what anybody who's watching you is supposed to think. But it wasn't luck that brought Special Agent Dressler into Eddie's garage at the exact moment he told you to meet him there. This is your chance to fill him in on Christmas parcels for Poland, the direct descendant of the Soviet America Institute of Commerce. They've rented stores, they've even printed handbills.
This is a commie racket, pure and simple. It's no different than any other fraud or swindle. $5 worth of food, and it costs you 30.
Quite a markup.
Even then, you're never sure that anybody ever receives it. And for $2 additional, we guarantee to produce the addressee's signature on each package delivered.
That's what it says right there. Wonder how many of those signatures would be genuine.
If you ask me, none.
There's another angle to it. If this isn't stopped, the commie government in Warsaw will have a nice, neat list of citizens with contacts in America. You know what that could mean to them.
Sure, Herb. But we aren't going to get any witnesses out from behind the Iron Curtain. Wait a minute. Speaking of witnesses, you say Platt's in on this?
Undercover, not out in the open.
His lawyer was in to see us last week. Dropped a couple of hints. Asked what the government's attitude would be if Platt should become a friendly witness.
And that's it. If he talks about the Institute, he'll talk about parcels for Poland, too. He's got enough information to put the whole outfit out of action.
I think he'll talk, and I think he'll blow this thing wide open. Meanwhile, the Bureau will keep an eye on the outfit.
I'll let you know if I pick up anything useful.
Good.
When the FBI says they'll keep an eye on something, that eye doesn't close. It doesn't even blink. But you've got a pretty good idea of what Dressler and the other agents will see at the office of Parcels for Poland. And it isn't a very pretty picture, is it, Philbrick? It's a picture of men who are willing to sacrifice a part of their own Christmas for a friend 3,000 miles away. Women who work on their hands and knees and write with arthritic fingers, forgetting the pain as they spell out a familiar name. Sure, the price is high, but he hasn't seen his brother since they were in a concentration camp together. The last time she heard from her aunt, she was in a convent near Warsaw. Will our service deliver a parcel to a nun? You have to help out too, Philbrick. In spite of the sick, dirty feeling inside of you when you look at these people and know that the order blanks they fill out can turn into death warrants.
You are positive that my uncle and my cousin will not have extra to pay?
We guarantee that the packages will be delivered without any charge whatsoever to the recipient.
But how will I know that they get them?
Well, for an extra $2, we'll furnish you with a receipt signed by the person to whom the package was addressed.
I send 2 packages, one to my cousin and one to my uncle. I will get 2 receipts, yes?
Yeah, you can take my word for it. Come back in 6 weeks, and they'll be here waiting for you. There's never a slip-up. Parcels to Poland is a model of efficiency.
I will be back. I will be back in 6 weeks.
There's only one slight flaw in these receipts. Oh, the postcard will come from Poland, all right, stamped and canceled. But the signatures are forged in the USA. I think I'll take off, comrade, if you don't mind closing up.
Not at all, comrade.
See ya.
Pardon me. Do you have a match?
Yeah, I think so. You can keep those. I've got more.
Thanks.
How much longer is this going to go on? I'm at the end of my rope.
I know, Herb.
I thought Platt was going to testify weeks ago.
Platt's illness wasn't a stall.
Oh?
Got bad news for you, Herb.
Oh, no.
Maybe he's better off.
Yeah, but he was our only hope. He was the only way we had of breaking up this racket. You said so yourself.
Yeah, there might be another way. Stick it out a little bit longer, Herb.
I don't know if I can.
Just 5 or 6 weeks. I think we're onto something.
All right, I'll try. What was it Comrade Bill said? If a person is considering betraying the party, he may find it impossible to live with himself. Well, the party didn't have to assist Comrade Jeff. His heart saved them the trouble. Christmas is over, but business is still good. Too good. There's another set of conditioned reflexes. They match the word Easter. It's been weeks now since you talked to Dressler. When's something going to happen? Maybe his plan went wrong. Maybe there's no way of stopping a setup like this without direct evidence. Maybe you'll have to give the evidence yourself, because they're still taking advantage of little old ladies like this one whose sacrifices are being rewarded with signed receipts from her loved ones in Poland. Yeah, the receipts are signed all right, but the signatures are forged.
I believe these are your receipts. One from a John Sobieski and one from a Jan Kochanowski.
Yes, yes, that is right. They are alive yet. 7 years I have not heard from them. Not a word. Oh, I am so happy. Thank you, lady. Thank you.
It's a regular part of our service.
Thank you.
I'll get them.
Thank you, sir.
Strange that the FBI should have been around exactly when that little old lady collected her receipts. Or was it coincidence? The comrades weren't planning to close up shop before Easter. I don't understand, comrade. What's going on?
Haven't you seen today's papers?
No. I came straight here from the office.
The parcel service is to be discontinued immediately. Comrade Bill telephoned the order the moment he got the news.
Why? What news?
A woman came in today. She asked for 2 receipts for some packages she ordered several weeks ago. Naturally, I gave them to her.
Naturally.
She was working for a fascist Polish refugee organization. They turned the receipts over to the newspapers. Every paper in town published pictures of them on the front page. They're all laughing at us.
Well, how'd the newspapers prove the receipts were forged?
They didn't have to prove it. One was made out to a John Sobieski. It seems he was a Polish king who died nearly 300 years ago.
What?
I don't remember the other name, but he was a famous poet, and he's been dead nearly as long.
Well, you can't be blamed for this, comrade. The party should have assigned this work to a Pole.
Comrade Bill doesn't agree with you, Comrade Herb, and he's right. It isn't bad enough that the office has been turned into a farce. The government is threatening an investigation for fraud.
Wow. This is serious.
Well, don't just stand there, comrade. Help me pack.
Now you know the answer, Philbrick. It was no coincidence when the old lady and Dressler met. Maybe she's FBI, maybe she's an agent for the refugee organization. But either way, she deliberately set the trap. And it's a cinch there aren't going to be any more communist parcels for Poland. There are many fine relief organizations in this country, and the authorities lost no time protecting them by taking prompt action against the communists' attempt to use relief as a front for the racket. Next week, we'll bring you another story from the files of Herbert A. Philbrick. The kind of story that could only be told by a man who for 9 fantastic years served as a counter spy for the Federal Bureau of Investigation.